Hi everyone, nice to meet you. Okay, it looks like my camera is a little bit not so clear, but I hope you can see me well. So I know we just got some information on vaccines, myths and that type of thing. And one of the things that I'm also going to talk with you about is vaccine equity, because that's what we were brought on by the state to address. I had some slides that I wanted to show you, but I actually think that we already know the statistics. We already know how everything looks. We already know that South LA received less. And so I wanted us to take a step back and look at the reverse. And what can we do to address the reverse? So what is the reverse? The reverse is that there are individuals who believe that they have a right to funding, to vaccines, to testing that was actually allocated for you. So we often don't look at it in that frame. We often look at it in the frame of, hey, you're not providing, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But we've got to get down to the fundamentals of why that is allowed to happen. We're in 2021. We spent the summer marching, writing letters, speaking out against racism in this country, yet in January, February, March 2021, we see that the same things are still happening. We see that people are still being killed over senseless racial ignorance. So then, if we want to talk about equity, if we want to talk about, all of the things that have happened, the misinformation, if we want to talk about, access, I think it's time that we really take a step back and reconsider why and how this country has been allowed to operate in this fashion. In this country, those who have political power prey on those who don't. Those who have political power and economic power prey on those who, for themselves, are feeling that they're missing something. And so what happens? They stir people to do things that they might not have done previously, such as what we saw at the Capitol on January 6th. I want you to think about January 6th. Remember your feelings that you had then. What I'd like to tell everybody, and this isn't the audience to really tell that to because but let's just say it, okay? Let's acknowledge and say it. What happened on January 6th, all of the feelings, that whole process, that is what Black people in America experience every day because we have been terrorized. And so I think one of the most important things to say, and I say this on pretty much every call that I'm on, is that your feelings are valid. Your sense is valid. Why is it valid? Because you've had over 400 years of training and staying alive. it's valid because you can sense whether you can trust a physician or not, or a police officer or not, by the tone of voice. I'll be honest with you, I was listening to a sermon and it was just something in the way that the preacher spoke, and I was like, please turn it off, because it triggered me. It triggered a I am not safe feeling in me. So overall, what I'm trying to say is that the concerns are valid, and you know that something's not right, right? So let's get to what is not right. What is not right is that there are people who control the funding at the state and local levels. And they will provide that funding to the people they see fit. So how do we change that? You know, this is a point in time where what's happened in the past is that we've risen up and we've said we're not going to take this anymore. But then the terror would begin again. And so if we want equity, we have to educate ourselves. We have to have our own resources and access to our own resources. And then we have to be in positions where we're the ones making decisions about how the funding is used. So I'm just going to give you guys the whole truth of what happened during the testing process at Jesse Owens the past 2 weeks. So you're aware of the article that went out regarding vaccinations that was in the LA Times. You guys saw the pictures. What they didn't tell you is that California already knew this. It was purposeful. In 2021, after the Black Lives Matter movement, it was purposeful. So knowing that, you can have feelings of, you know, feeling that, wow, they just don't care about us. They just don't care. And, you know, that hurts, that's sad. It makes us feel less than. So I'm going to address that really quickly. And this actually came from my devotional this morning. It says, you are ready for anything and equal to anything through your living relationship with me. Rest in my presence while I infuse inner strength into you. Because you are a child of the King of Kings, you are capable of so much more than you realize. You are worthy. You are a prince, a princess, you are royalty. And I'm not saying this to, how would you say, proselytize or anything like that, but I'm saying this so that you know who you are. And once we really know who we are, then it doesn't matter what they say about us. And then once we know who we are, we know what we're entitled to. You see, there are people who think that they are entitled solely because of their economic status or the color of their skin or their background. And they've lied to us and they've made us believe that we are less than, especially when they treat us as less than. So the thing that has to change in us is the acceptance of that. So this is Philippians 4:13. I have strength for all things in Christ who empowers me. I am ready for anything and equal to anything through him who infuses inner strength into me. I am self-sufficient in Christ's sufficiency. So I am equal to anything through him. We can't allow what's been happening to continue. The genocide, the feticide, how do we step forward? We can call it out, but how do we make that change? We have to demand it because it's your right. You pay taxes to the federal government. They take more of your taxes than they do anyone else. You paid for that 1.9 trillion. It is your right. And so, yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes energy. But we need to have our own lobbying machine and put ourselves in positions of power. And in this country, transitions of power occur really quickly, actually. You saw how quickly Donald Trump got through people, right? Like they were there one day, the next day they were gone. So no one in their position is set for life. So what am I basically saying? I'm saying we don't have to take it anymore, and we shouldn't. What happened at Jesse Owens was that there were two white women in Sacramento who were working with community-based organizations to set up testing. It wasn't organized. There were people who came in who tried to organize, but then it's not consistent. It's here one day, there another day, and just sort of moving around. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's sort of, how would you say, even if it were sort of last minute, it wasn't really well thought out. And community members weren't involved. So where are we at right now? Right now, we completed 2 weeks at Jesse Owens. We go back on Monday. And then that's pretty much it of our involvement. Yet we proved that we were able to vaccinate the target population. And it wasn't that many vaccines. It was only 4,700. Yet after that time, because we made a small dent, it was okay, great, we can open up everything again. No, because we're not safe. So I want to tell you something. Don't let them treat you like you're stupid. And I know that that might sound harsh, but I'll just be frankly honest, the rhetoric of, oh, well, you know, Black and brown people don't want to take the vaccine. What's wrong with them? They must be out of their mind. That's wrong. That has to stop. That is, how would you say, gaslighting. That's what that is. So when I came to you today, I said, I know and I understand. I didn't gaslight you and say all the thoughts that you have are wrong. So if they're going to come at us, they need to say that first, right? So how do we drive equity in testing? Oh, by the way, sorry, I didn't mention this part. They didn't provide any funding for us, for the staff that we took off. Yet we know that for certain universities, they've just handed over millions without a second thought. So if we want to understand how we can be the best advocate for ourselves right now, we can't be afraid to demand what we need. So how do we demand that? We write to our governor, and then you do what people are doing and what people react to. Get on Twitter. People respond so much to Twitter, they've been Twitterized. Call people out.
Sorry, Dr. Young, please, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. And so these are the things that we have to do. We have to talk to our elected officials. Find out who your assembly member is and let them know what's happening in your community. And maybe they've already said it, then start calling other ones. Let's go through the whole list. Every single corporation that you see that put up a, they're gonna stop racism or they believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, you gotta call them out on it. Because everyone who made that statement in the summertime, that's not reflected in 2021. So this is what I'm going to leave you with. We have to know, first of all, that we are royalty as God's children. Second, that no person on this earth is better than you for whatever reason. And even the way that they oppressed you, you have to understand that they did it because they were jealous of you or afraid of you. And so you have a voice, you have power. And if God's on your side, who's going to stop you? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Young. I think that was empowering, especially coming from that, especially for your efforts, leading a lot of these COVID-19 efforts and being on the front line. As a leader in our community, it's imperative that we hear, these type of voices and have someone fighting for change, fighting for equality for our communities. And so for that, we thank you, always bringing it, I would say always bringing it home and always being real with it, so for that, we appreciate it and we thank you. And there were claps and I see somebody left in the comment, awesome. So we are so grateful. I know that it is break time, I'm not sure if everyone will move around, but, in addition, we'll